Hey guys, as you know, the TOEFL has changed. 26 July 2023, that was the date that the TOEFL changed again in the last 2 years, right? And my goal over here is to give you the latest, most up-to-date test. So if you're preparing for the TOEFL, this speaking section of the test will help you prepare for it. Now in this video, what we're doing is we're giving you questions, we're giving the actual time, exact time, just like the actual TOEFL. So you'll be able to solve the questions right over here. And at the end of this video, we'll give you the answers as well, sample answers, which you can use to learn from. All right, so if you're interested, let's start, and make sure that you have a pen, a paper, which is allowed on the TOEFL, by the way. So you don't need to worry about that. You can take your notes and answer accordingly. And again, if you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and sign up on YMGrad.com for more of these.
Directions. You will now be asked to speak about a familiar topic. Give yourself 15 seconds to prepare your response. Then record yourself speaking for 45 seconds. Talk about an important challenge you overcame at some point in your life. What was the challenge? Why was it important? You have 15 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You have 45 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now read a short passage and listen to a conversation on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, give yourself 30 seconds to prepare your response. Then, record yourself speaking for 60 seconds. You have 45 seconds to read the passage. Begin reading now. Now listen to a conversation about the same topic.
Hey, this is your second year, right?
Yeah.
Oh no. Did you read the car policy announcement?
Everybody's complaining about it, but I think they're complaining for no reason. It's never bothered me.
Isn't it sort of inconvenient for you? You live on campus. You'd have to go out of your way to go get your car.
Actually, there's a bus that goes right from main campus to the satellite lots. It's actually quicker for me to take the bus to my car than it is to walk from my dorm to the main parking lot, and there's no bus that goes to the main parking lot.
Oh, okay. So do you use the bus a lot?
Yeah, I do. And the other thing I like about the car policy is it means that more people use the bus or walk instead of driving around. It just makes campus feel quieter during the day. When I only have half an hour for lunch, I want to walk across the street and get food without worrying about getting hit by a car, you know? It's worth it to me to park a little further away if it means there's less traffic on campus.
Now answer the question. The man expresses his opinion of the university's car policy. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 60 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now read a short passage and listen to a lecture on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, give yourself 30 seconds to prepare your response. Then record yourself speaking for 60 seconds. You have 50 seconds to read the passage. You may begin reading now. Now listen to a lecture about this topic in an education class.
All right, so we are aware of the fact that there are different forms of thinking that all humans do, but it is important to understand the differences between these modes of thinking. Drawing from the writings of William James and others, the psychologist Daniel Kahneman proposed that there are two systems of thinking that we engage in: System 1 thinking and System 2 thinking. You can think of these as fast thinking and slow thinking, respectively. System 1 thinking, or fast thinking, occurs when we apply habits and attitudes that have formed over the years to new situations. You can think of this form of thinking as intuition. Kahneman said that this form of thinking occurs very quickly. It can be helpful in reacting to new outside stimuli that may be dangerous. So, for example, let's say you see a snake in the grass. Most likely, past experience quickly tells you this snake might be dangerous, run away. The problem with System 1 thinking is that it's very hard to change because it's so ingrained, and it usually is associated with strong emotion rather than reason. So System 2 thinking, then, is slow thinking, what Kahneman called reasoning. This system is much more adept at performing deeper analysis on a situation with conscious, deliberate thought. When you write a term paper, you are using System 2 thinking. System 2 thinking cannot respond quickly to outside stimuli, but is much easier to change and improve.
Now answer the question. Using the examples of a snake in the grass and writing a term paper, explain the difference between fast thinking and slow thinking. You have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 60 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now listen to part of a conversation. You will then be asked a question about it. After you hear the question, give yourself 20 seconds to prepare your response. Then record yourself speaking for 60 seconds. Now listen to part of a lecture in an education class.
Habituation and sensitization. They're both types of learning, but they lead to almost exactly opposite reactions. And everybody, adults, babies, animals, all sorts of organisms, will exhibit both of them, depending on the situation. For habituation, think about the idea of alarm fatigue. This is actually a major concern in some environments, for example, in modern hospitals. There are all kinds of alarms going off all over the place, all of the time. Hospitals aren't quiet places. And people who work in hospitals will usually become habituated to hearing the alarms. They get used to it. And after a while, they don't have the same kind of response anymore. So if a nurse has just started working, when she hears an alarm that signals a major problem, her brain will respond to it with a rush of adrenaline. But after she's heard the same alarm 1,000 times, it doesn't matter how important it is. Her brain just won't respond as strongly to it anymore. Hospital workers sometimes report that they don't even hear the alarms anymore, which can be a major cause of medical errors. Sensitization is essentially the exact opposite. It's the phenomenon in which, in some situations, the more you're exposed to an external stimulus, the stronger of a reaction you have to it. This is something I've actually experienced myself. At one point, I got a new alarm clock. After I'd been using it for a couple of months, I happened to hear a similar alarm go off in a movie I was watching. And suddenly, I shot upright and my heart started racing. Without my realizing it, my brain had become sensitized to that sound. Any different alarm clock sound, and I wouldn't have had that same reaction. But since it was my alarm sound, it really shocked me.
Now answer the question. Using the examples mentioned by the lecturer, explain the difference between habituation and sensitization. You now have 20 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 60 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now.
Alright guys, congratulations. That was the test. You seem to have finished it at this point. Now take a look at the sample answers.
An important challenge that I overcame in my life was when I trained for a marathon. And it was a big challenge because I didn't think that I'd be able to do it. And it's as you know, it's a long race, and it was important to me because in order to train for it, I had to deal with an injury. And I had to, deal with the injury, overcome it. At one point, I didn't think I'd be able to participate, but ultimately, I was able to run the race. The student is not bothered by the new rule that requires second-year students to park their cars in the satellite lot. He does have a car, but the bus that travels from his dorm to that lot he finds it very convenient. He feels that the campus is more safe because there are fewer cars parking there, or fewer students parking their cars on campus. And the fact that public transportation is being used is also maybe better for the environment, so we see some benefit there. Overall, he doesn't feel annoyed by the change and actually thinks that the bus that would take him from his dorm to the satellite lot is more convenient than walking from his dorm. So overall, it's more efficient and easier. Humans think in different ways, and two of the ways are fast thinking and slow thinking. Fast thinking, system one thinking, is intuition. It's intuitive thinking. It has to do with associating with past memories or having emotions. A good example of fast thinking is you're walking in the grass, you see a snake, immediately you jump away. You think, snakes are dangerous, get away. And fast thinking is more reactive and harder to change. And slow thinking is your reasoning function. And a good example is if you have a term paper or a research project, you will have a lot of slow thinking, and that type of thinking is actually much easier to change or make better. Habituation and sensitization. The difference is whether you become used to something and don't react to it, or you start to get used to how important something is and you react more strongly to it. So, for habituation, for example, nurses hear alarms going off because a machine detects some kind of problem with a patient, and at first the nurses pay attention and react immediately. But after a while, they get used to hearing constant alarms at the hospital, and they stop reacting as strongly. Sensitization, on the other hand, your alarm clock goes off every morning suddenly and wakes you. If you hear a similar sound in some other context, and it immediately alerts you, makes you think, wake up! Or maybe a new nurse hears a car alarm, and it sounds like a certain machine, and she thinks, oh no, somebody is dying.
That was the end of it, guys. So I hope that this video helps. If you want more of these, comment down below, let me know. And also for a lot of free study material, sign up on YMGrad.com, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be doing a lot more of such videos for you in the future as well. And if you'd like to connect with me, make sure that you check out our Instagram page, which has a lot more of content like this one. Again, thank you so much for spending your time today with me.